My name is Aaron, and I'm 17 years old. I go to Hillcrest High School, a pretty average school in a quiet, sleepy town. I'm not popular or anything, but I'm known for having an uncanny ability to dig up secrets, to notice things others don't. People even joke that if there's anything odd happening in school, I'll be the first to figure it out. But that night, I wish I hadn't been curious. I wish I hadn't found that locker. It started when I heard about the old storage room near the back of the school. It had been sealed off for years, but I'd heard rumors that students who disappeared over the years left behind strange things in that room. Some people thought they'd just dropped out or moved away without saying goodbye, but I always felt there was more to it. So one night, I decided to find out for myself. It was late, way past when anyone should be at school, but I snuck in through the side entrance. The building was eerily silent, with just the hum of the old lights. I made my way to the storage room, my flashlight casting long shadows that seemed to shift with each step. My heart raced as I reached the door. It wasn't even locked. It creaked open with an almost deafening sound. Inside, the room was dark, dusty, and cluttered with old desks and forgotten sports equipment. I was just about to turn back when I noticed something unusual, a locker hidden in the far corner. It was rusty, but not enough to suggest it had been untouched for long. My curiosity got the better of me, so I approached it and slowly pulled it open. What I found inside still haunts me. There were items scattered on the locker shelves, half-burnt notebooks, old hair clips, broken pieces of jewelry, and other random things. As I inspected each item, a realization crept over me. These weren't just lost belongings. These were things that belonged to students who had disappeared over the years. My hand shook as I pulled out an old, worn diary from the back of the locker. I could barely read the faded ink, but as I skimmed through the pages, my chest tightened. The entries were disturbing and detailed each student's last moments before they went missing. The diary recounted whispered promises of protection and a place to rest, but they sounded more like twisted threats than comfort. Suddenly, I felt a chilling presence behind me. I turned around, and there in the doorway was Mr. Simmons, the school janitor. His face was twisted into a grotesque smile, his eyes cold and unnaturally wide. My heart nearly stopped. Mr. Simmons had always been a quiet background kind of guy, blending into the school halls. I'd never thought much of him. But here, in the dark, with that look on his face, he seemed like a completely different person. "You've been a curious one, haven't you?" he said in a low, raspy voice. He took a step forward, blocking the only exit. "You shouldn't have found that locker, Aaron. It's a final resting place." I stumbled back, gripping the diary like it was my only lifeline. What do you mean?" Mr. Simmons' smile widened. "Some students, they don't belong out there. They belong here, forever." His words dripped with a chilling calmness that made my skin crawl. I didn't think. I just bolted, pushing past him as hard as I could. He reached out, his fingers grazing my arm, but I was faster. I sprinted down the hall, not looking back, desperate to get out of that cursed place. The next morning, when I gathered the courage to tell someone, the storage room had been emptied. The locker was gone, like it had never existed, and no one had seen Mr. Simmons since that night. To this day, I feel like someone's watching me, waiting for the moment I'll end up in a place like that locker, a place I'll never leave. Even in a crowded room, I can feel his eyes on me. And sometimes, just when I'm drifting off to sleep, I hear his whisper in my ear. Curiosity has a price. My name's Luke. I'm 16, and I go to Blackwood High. I'm on the basketball team, and for as long as I can remember, basketball has been my life. The gym was my second home. I'd practice there alone after hours, perfecting every move in silence. But last month, something changed. It started with whispers. At first, they were soft, just faint echoes bouncing off the walls of the empty gym, almost like a breeze calling my name. I'd brushed it off as my mind playing tricks, but the whispers kept coming, and each night they grew louder, more insistent. They'd say my name, but there was something in the way they said it, like they knew me. One night, I was taking free throws when I heard it clear as day. "Luke." The voice was soft, like it was floating through the gym, but there was an edge to it, something dark. I froze, looking around. The gym was empty, as always, but for the first time, it didn't feel that way. The next day at school, my teammate Adam came down with a sudden illness. We joked that he had gym flu and laughed it off. But that laugh didn't last long. A few days later, another teammate, Ethan, tripped down the stairs, breaking his ankle. And after that, Mark got this weird, unexplained rash all over his arms that kept him out of practice. Each time someone got hurt or fell sick, the whispers in the gym grew louder. By now, they were no longer just calling my name. They were mentioning my teammates' names too. One night, curiosity got the best of me, and I decided I needed to find out where the whispers were coming from. They seemed to echo from a boarded-up section of the gym, an old storage room that hadn't been used in years. I crept toward it, my heart pounding with every step. The air felt thick, almost suffocating. I pried open a loose board and slipped inside, shining my phone's flashlight around. The room was small, filled with dust-covered shelves, old basketballs, and yearbooks. I picked one up, and immediately, a chill ran down my spine. The faces of several students in the photos were scratched out, gouged so deep I could almost feel the anger behind it. Flipping through, I stumbled upon an old team photo dated over 30 years ago. The players looked young, full of life, until I saw the small faded caption, "Gone but not forgotten, the 1989 Blackwood High basketball team." My stomach dropped. I'd heard rumors of a tragic accident years ago, but I'd never paid much attention. I couldn't take my eyes off the photo. Every face looked familiar. And then I noticed a detail that made my blood turn cold. The captain of that team looked exactly like Adam, who'd fallen ill. Another player had the same build and face as Ethan, and there was one who looked just like me. I put the book down, my hands shaking. As I turned to leave, I heard the whispers again, louder than ever, but this time, they were angry. "You took our place, our lives." I bolted out of that room and never looked back. The whispers stopped after that, but things were never the same. My teammates never fully recovered. Adam transferred schools, Ethan quit the team, and Mark's rash never healed. And as for me, I quit practicing alone in the gym. Some nights, as I lie in bed, I still hear faint whispers, reminding me of those lost players, as if they're still waiting, angry that we'd replaced them. My name is Sophia. I'm 16, and I'm what you'd call the quiet type. I've always preferred books over people, and I guess that's why no one really notices me. I go to Ridgewood High, and I'm good at schoolwork, especially history. So when Mr. Grant assigned a project on local legends, I was actually excited to dig into something different. I chose the case of a girl named Sarah who went missing from our school years ago. The story was chilling. She just vanished one day, and no one ever found out what happened to her. The more I researched, though, the more I felt strange. Sarah and I were almost identical in so many ways. Same height, similar looks, even shared interests. It was like looking into a mirror from years back, and I couldn't shake the unsettling feeling it gave me. After a few days of digging, odd things started happening. I feel like someone was watching me, even when the halls were empty. Then notes began showing up in my locker. The first one was written in shaky handwriting and simply read, "You're next." I thought it was some stupid prank, maybe some kid who thought it'd be funny to mess with me. But as the days passed, the notes kept coming, each one more disturbing than the last. One evening, as I was leaving the library, The janitor, Mr. Keene, stopped me. He's been at Ridgewood High for decades and knows all the old stories, so I thought maybe he'd remember something about Sarah. I asked him, hoping he might know a detail I'd missed. His face went pale, and he looked genuinely scared as he replied. Sarah wasn't alone when she disappeared, he said quietly, his voice barely a whisper. The last person seen with her was Mr. Grant. My heart froze. Mr. Grant, the same teacher who'd assigned me this project. I tried to laugh it off as a bizarre coincidence, but the knot in my stomach only grew tighter. I couldn't get his words out of my head. The next day, I didn't come back to school. My desk was left untouched, a silent reminder of Sarah's story, the very legend I'd chosen to investigate. Now, it seems I'm part of it too. They say my desk still sits in the back row, papers scattered, and a final note that no one remembers placing there. She was next.